Hello and welcome to the EmpowerHer Play Podcast. My name is Yasmin, this is Salma, and this is Shafia. And today we have Salma Yaqub, who is a social influencer and also social media influencer and an artist.
Yeah. Welcome, Sal.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Shaf's gone.
I just wanted to ask you, how did you get into it?
How did I get into the art?
Yeah, it's art.
Art side.
Yeah.
Come on, Chef. Ask a clear question at least.
Oh, I'm nervous.
I was really interested in the Islamic calligraphy, and I felt like I had a deeper connection with God when I started to learn how to write in Islamic calligraphy. So it just felt like the time had stopped for me, and it was something that I always loved doing. So I think
could
it
you
was
speak
just
and read and write is Arabic fluently
what
before you started learning calligraphy?
Right? No. I used to just do it myself. And then I just used to like copy off like Google and YouTube. Then I did go on to do a course. I can't remember the person's name. It's been a while. This was during COVID time. And I think during COVID time, a lot of that creativity came out. And I started on that. I thought,
time for it. I think that's what it is. We don't tap
How long
into
then
it.
you've been doing this as an artist?
Yes, I have.
But
And I
you're
was
so
just
good.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
always really critical
MSA
of myself, though. I'm always like, oh, that's not that great. And everyone's like, it's amazing. Like, no, that's not right. That's not done properly. I'm always like, I'm a perfectionist, I think.
So do you think like the painting helps with your like sort of to ease down, to switch off and just concentrate
The connection
on
with
that?
Allah,
Yeah, it definitely does help because that's my getaway. I was like, you know what? I need to concentrate on something. And I think using your creativity, which comes from Allah itself, is just amazing. And for me, the way I could explain it is like time had stopped for me when I was doing my Islamic calligraphy. And not just Islamic calligraphy, I did go on to do like a couple of sessions trying to learn the geometric side of the Islamic.
Oh, I love
the
that.
Islamic geometric.
Yeah.
But I kid you not, it's not easy. It's quite difficult. But I did go on to do it. But I haven't.
So what's the concept behind it that you didn't find it was as easy?
It's just I'm not great with maths.
I was going to say it's very mathematical.
Yeah.
It's very mathematical. Yeah, it's numbers and it's like
shapes
certain,
and
certain shapes and lines, and they need to be precise.
Oh, wow.
So the angles and everything like that.
Yes.
Oh, right.
It's very
she wanted to flow, not,
I think the flow worked for me.
Yeah.
But I honestly, when I look at all the Islamic geometric designs, like when you go to an Islamic country, and I went to Saudi Arabia recently for Umrah, and it's just beautiful. It's just beauty, and that beauty comes from God. And when you look at it and you think, wow, where am I living? I need to live here. It's just, I don't know, it's just some sort of connection I get from that. And I feel like it comes from God. It's all that creativity is just all linked.
But how did you realise it was art that was going to be your go-to and not writing or baking or sewing or whatever? How did you know it was art?
I honestly don't know. It just came to me. Like I just started to, I like, the way the writing is, the calligraphy, and it's just the way it flows. And I think I just connected with it. My soul connected with it. And I just thought, okay, let me try that. And it was something that came easy for me, and it wasn't so difficult. But I cannot tell you.
Art, though?
Alhamdulillah, yes, I have. From young age, I have been like into art, and my daughter is as well. I think she gets that from me. But I haven't pursued that like in school. But I was like really into all the artworks. So,
Did you think it kind of supported your mental health as well? Because that's what it is. We often have hobbies, especially when it's a hobby, to kind of think, I need that time to just shut down and just, stop the busyness, isn't it?
It is. I think we're so distracted in this day and age. And for me, when I started my calligraphy, I was like, as I said, time just stopped for me. And I had that moment where I could just be myself and just connect with my Lord and just the thoughts and just deal with them.
I think that's what we need, don't we?
And I think everyone has something they turn to in this day and age when there's so much distraction, whether it's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam going to the cave Hira, away from all the busyness, you know, and just trying to connect with his Lord. I think that was my way of connecting with my Lord, I guess. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I feel like it's more your spiritual health rather than your
Yes,
mental
it
health. You know
is,
that. I know they
yes.
come hand in hand.
Yeah.
But like when we talk about sort of different ways of well-being, we talk about spiritual health being
Yeah.
a separate
Yeah.
part. So it feels like that kind of tapping into that
The
spirituality,
spiritual
isn't
side,
it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
I think
amazing.
it's, yeah. I
And
think
people
that's
don't
quite strong.
connect hobbies and creativity with
They don't
spirituality.
see it as worship.
And sometimes, if anything, they think of it as a distraction from worship, isn't it?
Yeah. I
That's
think that's what it is. Like for me, I see everything part of my worship now. Like anything I do, like for instance, I think it's the intention that you have to set right. Like for cooking, I do not like cooking that much.
None of us
But
Must be a Salma thing.
you don't like it either. So obviously it's like, okay, I'm cooking for my family, I'm feeding them, you know, I'm doing something that's gonna help them be healthy, and you know, we need to live. So it's the intention and it's part of worship. So for me it's like, okay, I'm doing it for my family, and that's part of worship, you know. So yeah, I think it's just all about intention. And
Alhamdulillah,
yeah.
What's this new TikTok they've started to?
Yes. So the creative bit, that side is kind of on a hold.
Okay.
Like I kind of moved away from that, unfortunately. But I guess it was because there was a lot of things that I had to deal with personally. So I think COVID I think it did it for everybody. It just stopped time. And I feel like we had to like go within. Like for me, I had to like go within and deal with my traumas, like from the past, you know, big T's, small T's. And I just felt, okay, I'm not distracted from anything now. We can't do anything. Yeah. We're at home. Like we got to do, like it kept coming up to the surface and I had to deal with it. For me, I felt when I stopped resisting that, it's like me accepting that this is the situation that I need to deal with, and me resisting it. And this is something I would say to everyone: do not resist your emotions. Like, do not resist the past situations that you've gone through. Just putting it at the back of your mind and thinking it's going to go away. It won't go away.
Do you think that's a female thing, or is it a community thing, or is it a Muslim thing? And how we deal with trauma.
I think all of it.
All of it.
All of it, yeah. I mean, for me, I feel like if I didn't have God in my life, I mean, I look at other people who are not religious, who do not believe in God, and I look at them and I think, wow, how are they getting through this? You know, how are they getting through their issues and their problems? Because for me, the only thing I held on to was God. Every time, it was like, no matter what I was going through, I always tried to look for the goodness in the trials and tribulations that I went through. And I thought, there has to be some sort of goodness in this. You know, I have to get past this. So when I look at other people, I think, oh God, you know, I feel sorry for. I'm like, they need God in their life, because I would be nothing without God, in all honesty. So, yeah. Sorry, what was your question again? I was trying. Yeah, if it's affecting. Yeah. So I do.
It was you, yeah.
So sorry. So I do think that us as Asian women don't talk much. I don't think we talk enough, because I
talk much?
No, like without
Apart from us, we make
The real stuff. The real
problems,
stuff.
the real nitty gritty stuff. Because I hear that you know, on social media, people say a lot about men that they don't communicate enough. They don't talk about their issues and their problems and all that. And girls do it a lot more. Women do it a lot more. Yes, but I feel like Asian women, I know I did.
Yeah.
You put this mask on and you walk out the house like nothing's happening, and you're probably going through a whole load of storm and battle in your head, and no one can tell that. You won't be able to tell that, because I put this mask on and I'm happy and I'm out and I'm doing my thing.
Facade
And
that we put on, isn't it?
Yes, and then it comes back to haunt you. It does. It won't let you go because you're not.
So how
dealing
did
with
you come to that realization? Firstly, how do I deal with it? Secondly,
But
like,
just the acknowledgement first.
yeah, that I need to deal with
Yeah.
it. But secondly, how do you deal with it? How do you now unravel years and years of stuff that we've pushed to the back of our head, told ourselves it's our coping mechanism. If I ignore it, I can cope.
Yeah.
How do we...
For me, I think I'm always looking for answers. I think now when I look back, I feel like, okay, I've always been that person. I've always looked for answers. I've always looked for solutions. I don't settle for, okay, this is it. I used to be a very quiet person. I never used to be someone who would stand up for herself. But I think as time went by and as the situations I was put in, I had to learn to stand up for myself. So, yeah, so I think the realization of that this is not going to go away and I need to do something about it. And the other thing is, like, I actually used to think, am I going to heal? This is the question I used to ask myself. Am I going to heal from this? Because I feel like I'm not going to heal. But the reason why I'm sitting here today, because I have healed. That's the reason why I'm doing the TikTok videos, because that's why I moved away from the creative side and I've gone on to do this. Because for me, I felt like it's a calling. And it's a calling that I kept ignoring. And it's like God's poking you.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing on TikTok. What is it that you're actually doing?
I'm trying to get a positive message across for people to understand that no matter what you do in life, pain is always going to be part of your life. Struggle is always going to be part of your life. And you need to learn to embrace it and accept it as a friend, because resisting your issues and your problems, it's not going to help. For me, that's how I feel. I felt like I had a breakthrough when I thought, do you know what? Like when I look back at history and I see the greatest people that walked on this earth, they never had an easy life. They've always had struggles and trials and tribulations. Yeah. And God says he gives trials to those he loves the most. Yeah. And our Prophet, you know, he loved him the most, and yet he had the most trials and tribulations. So for me, it was like, if I want to be someone great, or if God wants me to be someone great, then obviously he's going to test me. Obviously he's going to give me these trials. Obviously I'm going to have to accept it and embrace it, that this is going to be part of my life. So for me, that's where the realization came that actually I don't need to fight this anymore. I don't need to resist it anymore. I need to accept it. I need to ask myself, okay, what is God wanting me to learn from this? What lessons is he teaching me? It's like I was thinking the other day about computer games. This is funny. It's like you're playing a computer game. And I look at my trials as a computer game, because this is the easy way I can explain it, is when you're going through the game, you're collecting coins and you're collecting weapons and you're collecting whatever you need to collect. You're bagging
Mario,
them.
Isn't she?
My daughter plays Mario. But when I think about it, I think about Alex Kidd. I don't know if you guys ever played that.
I didn't play it, but I remember it.
Yeah. So for me, I used to play that a lot. So I was just thinking of that, like, you know,
it's equipping you.
Yes, it's equipping me. I am bagging all of those tools that I need, you know, that God's, you know, how he wants me to be, who he's intended me to be. So that's the tools that I'm bagging. And those are the lessons that I'll need to learn from. So I think that was kind of my breakthrough, like, for me. And the other thing is, I really, really need to emphasize in this is, I went through therapy, and I think everyone should go through therapy if they need it. If they've had traumas in the past, it shouldn't be something that you should be scared about or ashamed about, because for me, it's like over the past 25 years, I've had therapy after therapy or counseling. And I think the books that I read really helped me to learn and understand which therapy is right for me. So I think do your research in what type of therapy you need. So the one great book that I read was is called The Body Keeps Score. And it's all about your emotions and where the body stores it. So for me, it was like, I pray, I'm very God conscious, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm still feeling this emotion, and you know, it's huge, and I've got anxiety and I'm depressed and I don't feel like getting up some days, you know. What can it be? But one thing I would say is, when people say to you, maybe God's punishing you, are you?
Yeah, that's the worst one they can use, isn't it?
That's the worst thing you can ever say to anyone. Yeah. Because, as I said, God tests those he loves.
You know what? So in COVID, when I had COVID, someone said, "Oh, you're being punished."
Yeah.
I had COVID, didn't
I
I?
couldn't believe that.
Yeah. Oh, Yash.
Oh, it was her. It was her, by the way. It was yeah. She told me on Shaf. You done so much guna, right? You're getting punished.
Yeah. No, but people, you know, sad reality is our
Sad
community are so
reality, yes.
insensitive like
Yes,
that.
and I
isn't it?
feel
No, but that's so wrong to say, isn't it?
such a wrong
Isn't it?
thing to say.
Especially when you are struggling.
Struggling.
you
I
know?
mean, you know you're going to
Stupid
die
thing to
or
say.
something or whatever. Then it makes you think that, oh my God, did we? Are
Yeah,
we bad?
yeah.
Are we bad? Because you know,
Yeah.
I did think,
doubt
am I
yourself.
bad?
You doubt
I know we
everything.
commit sins all the time, but not in a way to like.
not intentionally.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
We don't do it intentionally. That's the
Yeah.
thing. That's,
Yeah.
It goes back to your word about intention.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that is the reason why I started the TikTok, because I want to empower people, not just women, men as well. I want to be that positive person, and not, oh, God's out there to get you.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So you know
Because
your
that's
future.
what we were taught as we were
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
For me,
Fear Allah,
yeah,
fear
fear
Allah.
Allah. And I mean, I'm not, you know, I have respect for my elders. They were obviously teaching us the way they were
They
taught.
did, yeah. They did what they thought
their
was right,
best,
isn't it?
But it was always fear God,
Yeah.
and all I saw was like God was out there to
Yeah.
get me.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you have to be very careful what you say, what you do, and although they emphasized on the love and the connection, but it wasn't as much as talking about fearing God all the time. So yeah, for me it was like, God, what am I doing? Like, why am I being punished? But I think I had to undo that, a lot of that learning, by researching myself and just going into learning about Islam myself. Because honestly, the realizations I had, and then the lies that I was told, and I was like, oh my God, I honestly used to burst into tears thinking, I can't believe I believed into that
I'm
lie
living
for
a
the rest
lie,
of my
yeah.
life. And I've
Literally,
been
yeah.
torturing myself and being so critical, and I'm like blaming myself for everything, but it's not that.
But you know you're putting those messages out through your TikTok. Are you getting a lot of feedback? Is the messages coming across?
TikTok I think is very selective. It's not really putting my content out there as much as I want it to.
Okay.
But I'm getting good responses, yeah. I have a lot of people saying, you know, thank you, I needed this. You know. So yeah, I think it's doing some good. And I think for me, the way I see it is whoever needs it, they will receive it.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, because any question that I had, somebody answered it for me somehow. And I believe that was from God. So for me, it's like I'm putting it out there. Whoever needs it, hopefully, inshallah, they will find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I'm just going to, and you know, feel free not to answer this, but I feel like everything you've said today, although it's so powerful and so meaningful, it's been very vague. Like you're not going into, and that's fine and that's up to you. But I feel like I know our viewers are going to be like, yeah, she's talking about stuff which I can connect to, but I can't fully connect to because what is she talking about? Do you know what I mean?
my
There's-
traumas.
and you don't need to go into that at all.
details.
No, yeah.
But like you mentioned depression a little bit and you mentioned anxiety a little bit, but we use those words very lightly. And so is there maybe one particular example or story that you can share just so that people can think, oh, I understand what she means. I can
Yeah.
relate to this.
I think
if you're comfortable.
because the people that were involved, their loved ones. So I don't want to like
Oh, go into
disrespect
that.
them,
Yeah,
and
fair
go
enough.
into
Okay.
that. But obviously things are different now. But I can give like an example of one. This is what I used in my therapy actually, and I didn't know until I used that example that what my root cause was, like what was my core belief that I was holding on to. One example is, you know, our parents, they had parents that wanted the kids to marry into family. You know, you always had that dispute. So one particular one was when I was sweeping the floor and my parents were in a disagreement and they were in another room, and there was someone, another family member, my aunt was sitting right next to me, and I was sweeping away and they were in another room and they were having this, you know, dispute. And I did not know what it was about. And I think I was about 15, and I'm just doing my thing, sweeping the floor, and the voices just got louder and louder. And my aunt was like, oh my God, you know, I can't believe they're fighting. It's all your fault.
Oh, it's all
I was
because of
like,
you.
I just stood there and I froze, and I was like, what do you mean? Like,
What
in
did
my,
I
in our
do?
language,
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? And she was like, oh, they're fighting over your hand, you know, because it was like either my dad's side or my mom's side. And so she was like, oh, it's all your fault. Why was you born? Yeah. Yeah.
You can get a list of things of not to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my
She was
God.
like, why was you born? It's all your fault. Look what's happening there. And I was just stood there with the broomstick. And it's a very vivid
I'd have
picture.
used that broomstick if I were you.
She's someone we do not talk to. So I
good.
give
Yes,
that
she's a-
example.
yeah,
But yeah, she wasn't very nice. And it was such a shock to me. And I
Because
think
you just
that
said innocent
15-year-old,
teenager
yeah.
doing
Who
your...
I
says
do not
that?
know what's going on. And obviously you have these issues in the family, you know, but to be told in that way and say it's your fault what's happening, and then after that obviously things went downhill with my family, and then you're blaming yourself constantly for it. It's like, is it my fault? Like, you know, am I the problem? And when I was sitting in my therapy, that's the core belief that I had, and we got down to that I'm the problem. Yeah.
So that's
So
that's why I say
painful,
that.
didn't
yeah.
know about your parents having that conversation even.
No, I did not know what was going on. I was like, what's going on? And it's just like someone's come round and they're having some sort of conversation, and it was just, it was just shock.
then
I think
you
there
just
shouldn't be
ran
anything
and
about
married a
family.
Bengali.
Marriage, innit? Families.
She ran and married a Bengali to avoid it all. Forget mum's side. I'm going for
Mum's
shouting
side.
south side.
Forget dad's side, forget mum's side.
South side,
yeah.
south side, yeah.
I'm going across the ocean,
They were Pakistani once, innit?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
They were Pakistani once, innit? They're all Bengalis anyway.
No, but I think, you know what, because of these kind of problems, I think there shouldn't be any proposals from family. Just get someone from outside then, isn't it?
But you know, that's not
but
the
it's
issue
culture,
though.
isn't
That's
it?
not
Yeah,
the
I
deep
suppose.
issue
It's the
here.
culture, yeah.
Yeah, but the deep issue is those words that stick to you.
Yeah.
And it can
Yeah.
be something.
As a child as
you know what I
well,
mean? And sometimes
you know?
people think, oh, I was just joking. And
Yeah.
actually, it's, you know.
Oh, she wasn't joking.
Yeah.
But
do you
that's
know?
still,
The way she said it.
Yeah, but this is
Yeah,
it.
it
But
was very
you know,
harsh.
people can be cruel, especially when it's adults talking to a child. Those words stick to you because you
Yeah.
trust your
But
adults.
they don't
around you.
understand the impact,
Yeah.
isn't it?
They don't,
No.
they don't.
Yeah.
And I
Impact
took
them.
that core belief without realizing throughout my life with everything that happened to
Yeah,
me after
every
that.
relationship,
everything
everything,
went
yeah.
downhill then. I'm not going to go into the details
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
But yeah, it was like, it's me. I'm the problem. It's my fault. I shouldn't have been born. Do you see?
Yeah.
But now I've defined that as I have every right to exist
Yeah.
because
Yeah, of
God
course you do.
created
Yeah,
me.
absolutely,
That's why I had to change
absolutely,
it in
yeah.
my
Yeah.
therapy. That's
Yeah.
what I had to change it to.
And don't
And
you
it
feel
worked.
stronger and, you know,
Yes. Yeah, I feel I'm on a different level, and that's why I honestly I feel nervous that sitting here, but I would not come if I
Yeah.
hadn't healed, if I hadn't
Yeah.
had a breakthrough there.
That's
And my therapist, she was
Obviously,
amazing.
you came on to MSA, I think, around about COVID time, isn't it? When we did Positive Minds as well.
Yeah.
Did that help in any way?
Yes.
How
I
did
think
that help you?
I think connection with my Lord. Yeah.
because of the books that we were reading as
Yeah.
well, wasn't it?
Yeah, 'cause
And
Tell us a
sometimes-
little bit about how you joined and what Positive Minds is
what
about.
did you like? Did Shaf recommend it?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, Shaf did.
Okay.
It was Shaf.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember now. It's like you said.
I mentioned
maybe
about the book
WhatsApp
club
group, yeah.
and
And
Positive
Positive
Mind
Minds.
as well.
Positive Minds. I think we started with the Positive Minds and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
book club. And the first book when I joined, we were reading. It was just after the Seerah.
Khadija, wasn't it?
Khadija.
Khadija
radiallahu
Radiallahu anha,
anha.
yeah.
Yes, amazing.
And that was a
yeah.
perfect timing as well for you.
Yes, it was. I think every book that we read was
just
a
like
perfect
spot-
timing.
Yeah.
It was like an answer from God to me,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. The amazing book that I really, really loved was the
Show Up.
Show Up, yes. And the other one, The Secrets of Divine
Divine
Love.
Love,
Divine-
yeah,
oh,
I
that's
love
one of
that
the-
book,
yeah.
I think we can really relate to
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
yeah.
especially when she talks about growing up, being fearful of God.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think that I could really
it,
relate to.
yeah.
And it's just more about love and a love and connection with Allah rather than just fearing Him all the time,
Yeah.
you know, and just building on that love and connection.
Because you live out in Essex, right, somewhere. I'm not going to say the specific town, but
Oh,
Do you know
dear
what? I
Christ, you
live
know.
not too far from here.
oh really?
Yeah, we just come up and was like, oh, we used to live there.
Welcome to the Muslima Sports Association, where empowerment and sportsmanship meet for Muslim women. Dive into our world of sports, tailored exclusively for you. From the exhilarating teamwork of football and the strategic plays of netball to the challenging strokes of dragon boat racing and the precision of fencing, Whether you're looking to find your strength in wellness classes or experience the thrill of the NFL, we've got it all. Join a community where faith meets fitness, courage and camaraderie. The Muslimah Sports Association, where every Muslim woman discovers her champion within. Visit us today and kickstart your journey to greatness. Your sport, your sisterhood, your strength.
Yeah. So obviously the community there is a bit lacking, isn't it?
Sorry.
The community there is
yes.
it's not really a Muslim community like close by. So coming back to Positive Minds, did you feel you reconnected with Muslim sisters as well?
Yes, I think
You
I
were
needed
missing that because
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I was
Because
missing
you're from
that.
East End originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you moved out that way.
Yeah. I moved out that way because it was cheaper.
As we do, yeah.
I didn't think about everything else. But yeah, I think that really was amazing for me because I connected with like-minded people, like-minded sisters.
Alhamdulillah.
And yeah, it was just like a lifeline, I think, because it was COVID. And I think I really needed it at that point, to be honest. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, especially the Positive Minds. I wish I could attend, but
Yeah, in person, that would
I
be
know
great,
it's,
isn't
yeah,
it?
but I do prefer things in person, to be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
rather than online.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
we all do.
I think we were put into that situation where
Yeah.
no
COVID,
choice,
isn't
but
it?
I'm glad we
Yeah.
continued, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. But like when you said, you went through therapy and so on, I was actually going to clap, but I didn't want to, because people don't admit to it. That's another thing. Firstly, people don't seek help. And
Yes.
secondly, people don't admit to it when they've
Yes.
do you know what I
It's
mean?
an embarrassing thing.
Yeah, so
isn't
you
it?
feel like, oh, it's a weakness if
Yeah.
I say I had therapy or I'm going for counselling or something
Yeah.
like that. But do you need to be in a point of crisis to...
I was.
is that the point where people will seek help, or would you say seek help before you hit that point?
But do
I
you know
think-
though? before
Yeah,
you
that's
hit
what I
that?
mean.
Do you know
I
before
I
you
think
hit the
for
point?
me, I was doing self-help at first. So I read all the positive books. I've
And they were
watched
helping.
all the podcasts.
Yeah.
Like there's one that's called School of Greatness. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they always talk about well-being.
This
They've
one
always
didn't
got
exist at that point.
It didn't, but they've all helped me one way or another. Because there was loads of people talking about anxiety. There was loads of people talking about how to deal with depression, and I think every single one of them helped me. So I was just kind of seeking knowledge myself. I was always like wanting to learn about that. Honestly, sometimes I think, I want to be a therapist, but now I'm like, no, I don't want to be a therapist.
It's heavy.
I got drawn
Yeah.
to it, but I feel like
people be offloading on you.
Yeah.
You told me that with you.
yes, yes, and I have a story about that as well. When I was having counselling, I think the counselling that I would say is not great for anybody is when you're just talking and the counsellor's sitting there and saying, well, how did you feel about that then? And it's just, and you're just talking and you don't know how you're feeling about that.
Yeah.
That sort of counselling didn't help me. It
Okay,
has
so
to be an
in the
interactive
average person's
counselling.
head, isn't that what counselling is?
Yeah.
Sorry, like, so
No,
No.
no, and I didn't know that.
yeah, and I think majority
Until I
people
did my
won't.
own research. So I went from one place to another, to another, to another. And then when I came across that book, and that was actually recommended from a therapist, I started listening to that book. And this guy, he spoke about all the clients that he dealt with and every single one of them, which type of therapy they required. And there was like soldiers from Vietnam wars that were going through PTSD. And there was like suicidal people and how it helped them. And I was like, wow, if it's helped them, it must help me. Like, they've healed. So for me, I was like, okay, I know I can heal. I just need to find the right therapy for me, just the right things and tools that I need to get through this. So after that book, I decided I'm going to go through EMDR. Right. And if you want to know what that is,
Yeah.
I've written it down.
But does
I
it help
forget
to have a
as well.
Muslim person as well, isn't it?
So, yeah, so sorry, tell us what EMDR
Yeah.
is
So
first.
EMDR is
Sorry.
eye movement, desensitization, and
I've heard about
reprocessing.
this.
Yeah.
I've heard about this. Yeah.
It's a long, long sentence, a long word, but it's really powerful. It's really powerful because that's the only thing that helped me. In all honesty, I listened to all the therapies that he said. There was 2 that I ran it down to. I can't remember the other one.
And how is that different?
It's different because she takes you into the situation that I've just told you about when I was sweeping the floor, and so she takes me into that scene,
Time, yeah.
and then she knows when I'm feeling the emotion, the big emotion that comes at that point. She knows. So before I went to my last therapist, who I finished the EMDR with, I started EMDR with someone around Essex in my area, and I paid for that privately, and it was very expensive, but I paid for it because I was like, I need to do this. Mm-hmm. I actually didn't want to do it at first. I kind of like put it behind my head, and I kept making excuses, and then when it got too much, I thought, I need to do this because it's just not affecting me, it's affecting my daughter, it's affecting my husband, it affects your family.
Yeah.
So I thought, I need to do this for myself. So I started paying for it. I thought, you know what, I'll save up and I'll pay for it, even though it's very expensive. When I started that therapy, the therapist that I was with, bless her, she did an amazing job. I started with her, and with her, every therapist uses different tools. So she would get me into the scene, and then she would do a movement with her hands. And it's something to do with your eye. You have to move along with her fingers. And it's not just fingers. You can use a buzzer. And that's what I used the second time, which helps because you don't need to open your eyes. So you're still there, and you've got your headphones on. This is the last therapist that I did. And then it buzzes from one ear to the other. And you're basically shifting that emotion or that pain. Wow. It's very powerful. I can only tell you, if you're in that situation, you will know how it is. But you're shifting that and you're processing it. And then you kind of let it go.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
So is that with anxiety, depression, and OCD
anything.
if he has to be in it?
I mean, there's people that have gone through very traumatic birth. You know, you can even go for EMDR for that as well. You know, it all helps. But for me, it was that. My therapist, one of my triggers was rejection, abandonment. And one day she texted me and she said, I can't see you, I need to cancel. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. It was just out of the blue because I was supposed to have another therapy session with her. She goes, I have to cancel with you. And she kind of gave, I could feel she was giving excuses, and I was like, oh no, this doesn't sound good. Am I too much for her? And I was like having all those thoughts back, and I was like, do you know what? I need to stop thinking that way.
Oh, I thought it was a test.
No.
Oh, I thought she was testing you. Oh, sorry.
So she texted me and she said, I can't take any more clients. I'm cancelling. My husband's going away. I need to do school pickups and things like that. And I thought, how can she not do like the therapy sessions with me? So anyway, I just was like, okay, that's fine. Just let me know when you can. And she said, I don't know when that is. So I was just really like taken back.
That's what I was going to say. That's why I thought it was a test.
So I was just like, all these rejections and abandonment feelings were coming out. I was like, okay, I need to stop this because there could be something really, you know, she's going through, or something's happened, you know, that she doesn't want to say. A month later, this person is well known on Instagram, by the way. She also appeared in The Only Way is Essex as a therapist, trying to help someone there.
That was
she was expensive. And I found out from her Instagram page that she had died. She had passed away. Okay. Yeah. Oh. And I was shocked. I was like, my God. Okay. And I was thinking, I felt guilty. I was like, I was thinking all these things. And I was like, and that taught me a lesson.
Don't
judge.
Don't
judge. But where she's the expert, she could have broke it down to you nicer, I think. You know,
through a text. That's just like breaking up with someone.
No, especially when you know this client of mine has got these issues. She's already dealing with it.
Before you say that, let me get to the end of the story. So she passed away, and I was like, oh no, and she has one daughter, similar age to mine. And I was like, really I thought maybe she had some sort of illness that she was told all of a sudden, and she wanted to go through, you know, the medical side of it, and it didn't work. She's passed away. Fast forward another month later, and I spoke to my sister about my therapist, and she sent me an article, and she said, isn't this your therapist? And I opened the article, and I found that she had committed suicide.
Yalla.
Yeah. Oh. So before you say that, yes. And that was a shock to me. I was like, if my therapist has committed suicide, where does that leave me?
Yeah. What hope is there for me?
What hope is there for me? I was just like, and honestly, it was like, all these thoughts were coming in my head, and I was like, I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And it was a shock. And I was like, she was amazing. And like I said, we put on a mask, we go out there, and I could not tell that she had issues of her own. And I was told this recently, that therapists have to have their therapist
Therapy
as well.
first, yeah.
They have to have.
But it's a heavy
therapist that-
load,
Yeah,
because you know
it is
what?
a heavy
Even when
load.
someone tells you, "Oh no,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going for," you carry that.
That's
You
true.
carry
You
that.
do.
That's hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
whether
so
you
that-
love that person or it could be a
Yeah.
stranger, you still carry that load, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, they have tools and skills how to deal with that. And I think they have their own therapist.
They need to detach
But she-
themselves.
yeah.
They have that mechanism.
They have to know
Yeah.
how to do that. But that was a complete shock. And I was just, and she committed suicide on
Sounds
my
like a movie. No?
husband's birthday.
Yeah, Allah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And I was
me.
like, what? And my husband was like, please don't tell me that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just, I don't know how to take it in or
That's
deal with
it.
it. But I had all these thoughts and I thought, I cannot think like this. You know, I cannot stay in this victim mentality.
How did you come out on the
Yeah.
other side?
Yeah.
God. That's all I
Yes.
can
That,
say.
that
Yes.
was the one thing
That's
that you
all
held
I
on
could
to.
say. I've always held on to God. And that's all I could say, because I thought to myself, do you know what? Being a victim is not from God. We're not supposed to be victims. Yeah, we're put in that situation, but we're supposed to, every hardship we go through, we're supposed to look for the goodness in that, because there is goodness in that. There's supposed to be some lessons that you can learn from that.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I can't think like this. No way. I'm not going to take this in. I'm not going to say, you know, that's going to be my end. No
Yeah.
way.
This is
Because-
not defining me, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's not defined like you said. This
Yeah.
doesn't define me. And I was like, am I going to let this, like, you know, take me down again?
Mm.
And I've been rock bottom, and I've climbed up, and I know how hard that climb is. It's like, I can't do that again to myself. I need to find another therapist. And it was very, very hard to find another therapist, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because you've built that bond
Yeah, you've
with
got
this
to restart with
therapist.
someone,
Exactly.
isn't
And
it?
you got to restart
She's
it
added
again.
to your trauma as well. Sorry,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
God bless her soul, but
Yes.
it's hard, isn't it? It's such a
Yes.
hard thing to do.
It's the way in which she
Yeah,
passed, isn't
exactly.
it?
It's all of
that's
that.
the whole
Yeah.
thing.
But
Is there one final message?
yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, but there's hope, isn't it? I think the key thing here is there is hope.
key
You can
thing is,
be
yes.
at rock bottom, and you can go back to being at rock bottom
Shining
several
example
times.
here.
Exactly.
Yes,
But
yes.
really, tell our viewers there is hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I held on to. And I think in every situation, if you don't hold on to hope, what is there that you can hold on to? Do you understand?
And
if you
there's
don't hold on
help
to
out
God.
there now. So if you do need someone to talk to, there are
Yes,
helplines there.
exactly,
Even
yeah.
if you haven't got somebody, because I read a statistic, there's 81% of young people feel they don't have someone they can turn to.
Yeah.
And that's really sad. And I think that's because we rely so much on social media that we're talking through social
Yeah.
media. We don't actually speak to anyone face to face
yeah.
or on the phone anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's so sad. And there are loads of helplines there, and I will put the numbers on our podcast. That, you know, if you do need someone to speak to, sometimes a total stranger is the perfect person
Yeah.
to share and offload onto.
Yeah, what I would say is, I know it's hard to speak to family because, you know, they see you in a different way.
even
And
friends
sometimes
as well
you might
sometimes.
feel that shame or guilt. The only person who knows you truly is your Lord,
Yeah.
right? And the other person that you can go to seek help from is a professional. So go to a therapist and see where you can seek that help from, what type of therapist, gain that knowledge about therapists and how you can go forward with that. So yeah, please do seek help. I would advise everyone who needs it. Don't just think that it's going to go away. Don't suppress the emotions. And let me just add this, every emotion is part of us. It's not bad. Because what I used to think is, I used to get angry a lot, and I used to think, now I used to get angry because I got angry.
Yeah.
I used to be angry at myself for feeling depressed, for feeling sad. You know, why am I feeling like this? And I couldn't make sense of it. And I think the other part of it that I wanted to touch was the emotions. We do not know how to deal with them, and they're there in our body. And I think that's when I realized, actually, I know what's happened and I've dealt with it logically, but the emotions keep coming up, and I need to deal with the emotions because your body suppresses that. And I think that's where EMDR came in for me. The emotion was still there, and I had to process that and let that go.
Healthy mind, body
Yeah.
and soul, isn't
Yeah.
it? It all
So
connects.
every emotion is not a bad emotion. We are told that, you know, don't get angry. it's just how you react. I think your reaction, if it's a big reaction, an unhealthy reaction, then you have to think, okay, I'm reacting in a very huge way when I don't need to. But being angry isn't really a bad emotion. It's part of you. You need to embrace all of your emotions and just feel okay
that's
about
the powerful
it.
message. I think embrace your emotions, seek help if you feel like you need to talk to somebody, whether that's a helpline or your friend or family member or a therapist. Please do seek help and don't think you're alone. Thank you for watching, and Salma, thank you
Thank
for
you so
coming on.
much
Thank you for having me.
It's been really
Thank
good
you.
to talk to you and get these messages out there, I think, to bring it up to the
Yeah.
surface. We
Inshallah.
don't talk
Thank
about
you.
this enough. So thank you for
Sam.
what you're doing. Keep going.
Yes.
Thank you for watching the Empower Her Play podcast. You can download all of our previous episodes on whatever podcast platform you use, and we will see you next time. Thank you.